All right, we are back with the 139th edition of the Quarantinecast. I'm really excited for this one. I'm having someone who I've had on before, but last time we spoke, he wasn't in the UFC. Now he's in the UFC, and he already has a win under his belt for the promotion. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce UFC Featherweight Kai Kamaka. Hey, man, how you doing?
Doing good, buddy. Nothing much. Just got done with pro practice, so um, yeah, just recovering. Just got done with dinner, so
It's been a while since we last spoke. We were talking a little bit off air, but before we spoke, or last time we spoke, you weren't in the UFC yet. Now you're in the UFC. You've got a win under your belt. Um, how awesome is it to say you're a UFC fighter?
I mean, it's nice. It's nice and all, but that just tells you that just means you got to work even harder, you know. So, I mean, it's cool, but the real work has just started after being called UFC fighter.
Yeah, I like that mentality. They say like that it's getting there is hard, but staying there is even harder. So I like
Hmm.
that mentality of, you know what, the work's just starting. But last time we spoke, you were about to fight Michael Stack for the LFA. How did it feel when you got that call, and how did that call come about? Like, you're fighting on the UFC, short notice.
You're saying how did the call for the short notice fight play
Yeah,
out?
yeah. And obviously, it circulated on Instagram and how it went about
Uh,
and your emotions behind it. But was there any hesitation to even take it because it was on short notice?
Um, Not really, not really. I didn't know my opponent for like the first hour and a half that I got the call. Just was like, I mean, because it doesn't even matter at that point. You're in the UFC, you know. You expect to fight the best guys. Um, but that whole summer, everything was like nothing. I mean, you got COVID at first, and then I wasn't even supposed to fight Michael Stack. You know, I was a replacement fight for that. My plan was to originally just be in Vegas. And then they called me to fight. My manager said, "Hey, since we're gonna be in Vegas, why don't we just fight LFA first?" And I was like, "Yep, let's just do that." My plan was to beat Michael Stack, and then wait around for the UFC. And then, well, yeah, but Michael Stack wasn't even in the picture. LFA wasn't even in the picture. Thankfully, that opportunity came, and it just it just moved the plan. You know, put it into motion, boosted it. You know, there was a lot that played into to me even getting the call. I did my medical before LFA fight for Nevada. Um, I just hoping, just praying, just working, and everything came to play.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it worked out. You got signed, but more importantly, you got a win. How did it feel to get a win, but not even just to get the win? It was the way you did it. You know, the fight that you guys had was one of the best we saw, and it was a great way to kind of like open things up again to the UFC. It was one of the best performances we had seen since things had been opened up.
Um, I don't even think about it. I mean, other than like the emotions, like so high, like I just expected to do that. I expected to put on a show. I expected to go out there and fight for my life. I mean, and that was it. I mean, I don't even think I couldn't even think about it. I mean, I fought that fight was so fast paced and so like yeah, so high paced, and my the adrenaline was going, like I was throwing up in the back after the fight. Not because of anything other than adrenaline dump. Everything kind of settled, and I was just like, it wasn't even like big throw up. It was just like my body was finally settling, and it was just like my body felt weird, nauseous, and it was just kind of. I mean, you get everybody knows how that feels off of like adrenaline dump, um, especially like any type of competition. And it was just, I don't know, I just can't explain. I mean, I expect to do that every time, and I expected to do that again May 1st.
Yeah, that leads me to the next one. I mean, obviously you had that second fight also on short notice, and it didn't
Yeah.
go your way. Um, I know you're not one to make excuses or anything like that, but is that something that you going forward, you might consider as well? Maybe not taking those short notice fights.
Um, yeah, I would say so. The timing, I mean, I don't take anything from Jonathan Pierce. He beat me that day. That was, I felt great that week. But it was just like the timing was it wasn't right to even take any fight, win or lose. I mean, I just moved to Vegas 7 days prior to getting the call for the UFC for that fight, and I moved to Vegas without my family, finding us a place. All the while we're just there's a lot going on, a lot of stuff going on back home. That's why I moved, and then yeah, and then I moved here, was waiting trying to find a place, and then what seemed right was taking a fight, to put me at ease, and it did. The only thing that didn't work out is I lost. So I mean, that's it. I don't regret it because what I learned from that fight is gonna carry me on for the rest of my life and my career.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point too. Is it could be very different. We could be sitting here and having a different conversation if it played out for you. It didn't go your way. That being said,
Yeah.
last time you had a loss was early on in your career, and your fight after that ended up being another loss. So how have you changed since then? And how is your mentality different going into this one, knowing that you're coming off a loss?
Honestly, I look at the loss to Jonathan Pierce as my first loss ever, just because the last two times I lost, I was completely winning the fights, and I was fighting with a torn shoulder, both shoulders actually, and it was just like I was stupid, like just dumb, young, dumb, like taking fights just cause and thinking I could win them injured, and I thought I did win, honestly. But just I can't even judge those fights because I went in without having surgery, and they were like my shoulders are completely torn, but I thought I was too good for my own good to where it's still, I mean, my shoulders kept popping out during the fight, and I'm just battling doing that, and so it's hard to judge those fights. It's just me more young and dumb.
That being said, now you've got a fight on a full training camp, so that's got to feel great. But what's your thoughts on the matchup with TJ Brown?
I mean, I like it. I like it a lot. He comes to fight, and so do I. I mean, nothing more than that. I don't see TJ Brown as anything. I don't invest my time into him emotionally. It's because at the blink of an eye, it could be somebody else. You know what I mean? So it's like somebody could get hurt and whatnot. So it's like he's just the guy that I got to face that night. And but I like it. I mean, he comes to scrap, and so do I. Now that I got a new set of coaches. As coaches, their job is to settle me down. So um, yeah, I mean this is just all part of the game. To combine UFC fights, I have 11 days notice for combined 4 days for my first fight, 7 days for my second fight, and then this one is just had a nice 11, 12 weeks. So I mean, whatever. I mean, I don't know what's the math on that, but it's you know.
Yeah, I mean, it really is crazy that you in your first two UFC fights, you only had 11 days notice between the two, which is ridiculous. That one of the things you just said is kind of you've settled in. You're in Vegas now, full training camp. That's got to be a huge weight off your shoulders, knowing that you've got a home and some stability and things that are normal. How has that transition been, and what's life like now being at Extreme full time?
Um, I mean, I mean, it feels right at home. I have a lot of I have a lot of buddies that I already knew. I have a lot of um yeah, I have a lot of guys that I already knew, and I have a relationship with already. Um, and then I just have a new set of coaches. And then they're not trying to change me. They're just trying to make me better at what I already do. So um, I mean, it's been a good transition. As far as the biggest thing as just having a lot of bodies. And then the resource of the UFC PI. Everything's right here. I'm maximizing everything with the PI for this camp, and this is my first fight to where I actually feel like a UFC fighter, and I'm preparing for a UFC fight. I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I mean, we prepare our whole lives to get in the UFC, but I feel like this is my first like UFC fight, UFC camp. I this past summer there was a lot going on with boom getting into the UFC. Okay, just gotta perform what you got. Okay, then I tried to move and I was moving. They gave me a different date in December, and then just so happened that boom they called me last minute to if I could fight step in for Sean Woodson. But that's just the way the cards played out. I would have took that fight anyway, like regardless. And the only thing that happened is I lost because if I won right now, I'd be considered a genius. Um, but right now, this is my first fight that I actually feel like a UFC fighter, or because I'm getting for my first. This is my first UFC camp.
One of the guys that you've been working with is actually competing this weekend in the biggest fight of his career. What's it been like working with Aljamain Sterling?
It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. I get to help. Be a helping hand, be a small part in him chasing a world title. But at the same time, it helps me get like world class work. Look, top five contender. Look, number one contender. Look, um, he's a weight class below me, but that's still championship level work. And that just reassures me that I'm in the right place. If guys like him, would like some help from me.
And what's your prediction for that fight? I mean, obviously, I'm sure I know who you're predicting, but how do you think it plays out?
Honestly, if it's hard to say. I mean, it's whatever style plays out. You know, that's just like stylistically, they match up really well. As yeah, t- Aljo's a takedown guy, and then Peter Yan is a boxer wrestler. Rather, Aljo is a wrestler jiu-jitsu guy. So, um, it's weird if it plays out to one side, we know what type of fight it is, and I mean, I think everybody knows that at this point. So,
One of the big announcements in the past month has been PFL is back, and I know you're
mhm.
not a part of PFL, but your cousin Ray Cooper is obviously going to compete again after a year off. How good does it feel to know that you're going to be able to see him and help him prep for some fights?
um, it's good. I mean, we actually fight the same week, so I fight 2 days after him. So I mean, I'm pretty hyped. He's pretty hyped. We talk like every day. We talk for like 2 hours, 2 hours a day straight at least. I mean, me and him is tight. That's like my best friend. So, um, it sucks that I'm not helping him for this camp, and he's not gonna be here for. I don't know. I'm not sure if he can be here for my fight, but we're trying to get him out here for fly him out here for my fight to be in my corner. I'm not sure how that's gonna work. I mean, that's always the plan with him being in my corner. But I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to see him back. Excited. I mean, he belongs with the best in the world. I mean, yeah, he hits like a truck. So I mean, if you hit like a truck, you can't budge that.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to him a while ago, right when the pandemic was like at its peak, and you
Uh-huh.
could tell he was itching at getting back. After winning the tournament, I'm sure he's got something to prove again. And I've been a huge fan of his for a long time. So I hope he can be in your corner too, because I think it's definitely great to have someone with that kind of level of expertise in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, not only as like from a fighting standpoint, but as just somebody that that's my home. You know what I mean? That's my guy. So I mean, as far as comfort, knowing somebody who's gonna back me up to the better end, and he knows how far I can go. Um, that's where I'm at with him in my corner.
So I want to ask a couple of like more personal questions with everything that's going on in Hawaii with COVID. How has it been being able to like get back and speak to family and whatnot? And what's the sort of situation going on over there?
I think they're starting to open up a little bit more. With everything changing with the within the seats of the state. So I mean, with a new mayor, uh, I think everything is starting to change a bit. But I mean, being in contact with my family and stuff is really easy. But it's part of the reason why. I mean, you just part of the reason why I move. You just don't know how the world is gonna be. That's why I moved to Vegas, close to my employer, close to gyms that are going 100%. So I mean, it's just that's why I made the move, and I would have loved to be home with my team and stuff. But I think it's good as far as the place that I'm at, to kind of open my horizon and eventually bring it back home.
Yeah, Vegas seems to be the hub for Hawaiian fighters too, right? Like Brad Tavares, Ty Guerter, you. There's a lot of Hawaiians even just there at Extreme Couture. So it really does seem to be like Hawaii 2.0 there in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean it is because it's not far from home. It's 5 hours on a plane. The food is not far from Hawaii. Um, and there's just a lot of us here. They call it the ninth island. There's a lot of guys that Hawaiians like to gamble. So I mean, it's easy to make home, especially when there's a lot of us here.
All right. Well, we'll end on this. Is there any sponsors or anyone you'd like to thank before we end it?
Yeah, I just like to thank one of my guys, Corey Correa, and then my guys at Ruka. Um, those are pretty much my main sponsors. I would like to thank them for being a big part of my camps and part of my career. And then just my team, Boston Salmon, Danny Ige, Jeremy Kennedy. Those are a lot of the guys that I work with. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this next fight. It's my first fight that I'm actually preparing for the UFC. First actual camp. So I mean, I can't wait. I don't think nobody's gonna be cheated this time.
All right, man. I can't wait for it. And hopefully it stays intact. I know with everything going on in terms of, it seems like every fight is kind of falling apart in some way. So hopefully it stays intact, and hopefully this is the fight you get. I like the matchup, and I can't wait to see you back out there.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, man. Stay safe.
Thank you.
All right, there you have it. UFC featherweight Kai Kamaka. I've had him on before. Been a fan of his for a long time, even before his time in the UFC. And be sure to tune in on May 1st. He fights TJ Brown. Yeah, so we'll see you guys next time. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.